Welcome to Turn Into Podcast. I'm Gina Baruch. Join me in my journey and discover how women's stories are woven into our lives, reflecting the beautiful tapestry of human experience. Hello and welcome back to Turn Into. Last episode, I left the shelter of the ashram for the open road, traveling with a textile artist and then an Italian guide I met in Hampi. Here's how the adventure continued. My journey with the Italian guide ended in Bangalore. While he headed east, I flew to Delhi, my destination being the infamous Bahar Ganj. After landing, I hopped into a tuk-tuk, a three-wheel auto rickshaw with a canvas roof and open sides. Before I even started, I haggled for the fare and then climbed in. The driver took so many shortcuts through poor neighborhoods, and my phone had no signal. I had no idea where I was or who I was with, and panic started to set in. Was this guy really taking me to Bahar Ganj? Suddenly, I realized I couldn't hold on to the fear anymore. I surrendered to the moment. My shoulders relaxed, and I began to see my surroundings differently. The streets weren't just filled with poverty and dust. There were children laughing with their mothers, people selling vegetables, and friends playing games. A question popped up into my head. Who can be in danger when you are with God? No one. I decided if something happened, I would just have to trust that everything would unfold exactly as it should. Finally, we arrived in Bahar Ganj, a bustling old market area from the 18th century. Today, it's a chaotic hub for backpackers and young Indian students looking for cheap accommodations and bargain shopping. The moment I stepped out of the tuk-tuk, a swarm of hotel sellers surrounded me. I dodged them, found my hotel, and after checking in, went out to explore the neighborhood. The area itself was a sensory overload, a hilariously chaotic labyrinth where the sacred and the profane collided. You could find yourself dodging a cow, a chai seller, and a persistent hawker all at once, while the air hung thick with the smells of sizzling street food and incense. It was a funny, beautiful, and bewildering spectacle of humanity. The next day, I headed to the train station to visit the Taj Mahal. Getting on the train was a workout. It required a fast sprint to secure a seat among the throngs of people. In the middle of the crowd, I saw a figure with no legs and four arms like a spider. They moved with surprising speed and grace, propelling themselves forward with their arms, navigating the chaos and then hoisting themselves onto the train. I ended up squeezed between a woman in her 40s and a young man. Despite the cramped space, there was a feeling of joy and community. People were laughing, singing, and sharing food. The woman stared at me, amazed, and finally struck up a conversation. "Where are you from?" she asked in perfect English. Mexico. She reflected for a few seconds in silence. Then she continued. Where is your husband? I don't have one, I said, explaining that I live freely with my boyfriend and I had left him at home. Her eyes widened in shock. And where is your mom? She asked. Her concern was growing. She's at home. Alone? She said, looking even more horrified. I explained that all my siblings were married and lived in different places. She then shared her own story. As a Muslim woman, her marriage had been arranged by her father, and she had met her husband on their wedding day. After that, she barely saw her parents, only when her husband would take her to visit them. She lived with her husband and his entire family, all his brothers, sisters-in-law, and their children in the same house. They took care one of another, including her husband's parents. During the holidays, all women will cook together while the children played. I was speechless. It took me a moment to process her story, but what truly struck me was the look on her face, a mix of peace and grace. She was happy, genuinely happy, and grateful for the life she had. She wasn't resentful that her marriage was arranged or that she didn't have her own home or a career. She was at peace with her reality, a stark contrast with the Western idea of having it all. And please don't misunderstand me. There is nothing wrong with wanting to grow and accomplish your dreams. Just look at Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, a happily married mother of 4 children and a self-made billionaire. She's a clear example that it is possible to have it all. But, to be honest, I felt a little jealous of the Muslim woman. I wish I could be that kind of woman. My life would be so much easier if I could just quiet my mind, if I didn't have this burning desire to create things, if I could just be grateful and satisfied with the present moment. Why did I have this persistent feeling that enough was never enough? Was it my wound? Or was it my nature? In our world, women are expected to be a brilliant professional, a loving wife and mother, a perfect daughter and a good friend, all without breaking down or sacrificing our families. Her simple contentment made me realize that instead of trying to be everything at once, we should prioritize inner peace, choose our battles, and find balance not by doing more, but by doing less with consistency. It's not about becoming someone or accomplishing something. It's about enjoying the journey as it unfolds, finding happiness in the present moment, while still working to create a better reality for ourselves and others. When we arrived in Agra, she invited me to join her for a wedding. What an idiot I was to turn down the chance to have a real local experience with her and her family for a tourist attraction. She understood, gave me some colors as a parting gift, and we said our goodbyes. I went to the Taj Mahal. It revealed itself in a series of breathtaking unveilings. A perfect vision in white marble. Its beauty was in the details, the thousands of precious stones inlaid into the marble, the way the building changed color with the light of the sun. It was a monument to eternal love, built by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan for his wife. I was listening to the love story inside the crowded tomb when I felt a tickle on my naked shoulder. I ignored it at first, but it continued. I turned to see a hand touching me. I wasn't scared. I had to hold back and laugh. In Mexico City, that would be a gesture. But here, shoulders were a temptation. I learned that bare shoulders are considered provocative, but other body parts are not. I moved to another part of the room and saw my stalker holding another man's pinky finger. I wondered if they were a couple, only to learn that in India, men holding hands is a common sign of friendship, no romance. It was a fascinating cultural contrast. I stumbled into a textile shop, and after buying a few souvenirs, I started talking to the owner, a graceful and serene Muslim man in his 50s. We sat on the floor, and he showed me some textiles while I told him about my trip, my search for a guru, my time in the ashram, and how tough it could be for a woman traveling in India. He then shared his own hilarious and humbling story. As a gesture of kindness, he had once invited a Western woman he had befriended to his home for dinner. When dinner was over, he picked up the dishes and went to the kitchen. When he returned, she was naked and waiting for him. Wait, he said. He told her, I just invite you as a friend. I had other intentions. The woman was mortified and explained that in her country, a dinner invitation is often interpreted as a romantic gesture. Embarrassed, she got dressed and left. He smiled and said, You see, both women and men often judge the world based on their own stories, and most of the time, it's just a misinterpretation of reality. I returned to Delhi and observed the city had a completely different vibe from what I had experienced in southern India. It felt more liberal. I saw young women going to school, working and traveling along on the metro. In the next few days, I also visited other monuments and the India Gate, a beautiful archway built to honor the soldiers who died in World War I. During the day, I watched monkey performances and people blowing soap bubbles. In the evening, I tasted street food and watched an Hindu dance performance. After almost a month, my stomach was tired of spice, and I felt ready to go home. At the airport, I opened a book I had brought, The Teachings of Don Juan. The first quote I read was, What you learned is never what you thought it would be. And so you begin to feel afraid. Knowledge is never what you expect. Then I realized, if we want to kill fear, we must go to its source, our mind. Because fear doesn't start in the world. It starts in our thoughts, in the silent, invisible stories we repeat to ourselves. Stories of inadequacy, of danger, of what may go wrong. Stories that play on a loop, shaping our reality without us even realizing it. And here is the truth. If we don't train our thoughts, they will train us. The mind becomes a battlefield where fear always wins. But we're not here to be ruled by fear. We are here to reclaim our mind, to take back the pen and write a new script. And it begins with this simple and powerful realization. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You are the architect, the programmer, the one who chooses what gets to stay. So when fear whispers you are not ready, you just don't accept it. You question it. You respond. Says who? When it says you will fail, you reply, maybe, but I will learn. You will flip the script. You disrupt the pattern, because every thought is a seed, and what you water grows. If you water fear, you will harvest hesitation. But if you water courage, if you flood your mind with powerful, intentional, disciplined thoughts, then boldness becomes your default. This isn't about blind positivity. It's about intentional mental conditioning. The same way athletes train their body. We must train our mind. Tell yourself what you want to believe, and until it becomes who you are. I am calm under pressure. I face fear and move anyway. I don't shrink, I expand. These are not just words, are commands, and your subconscious is always listening. Let your actions reflect your new identity. Your mind learns by watching you. So when you do something bold, when you move despite the nerves, when you speak up despite the shaking hands, your brain registers. We do hard things now. That's how identity changes. That's how fear loses control. You are not weak for having fear, but you stay weak if you let it lead. Fear may visit, but it doesn't get to stay unless you open the door. Train your mind or be trained by fear. The choice is always ours. Did I regret my trip because it wasn't what I was expecting? No at all. Wisdom cannot be transferred. I had to experience this journey and confront my fears to better understand myself and the world. Perhaps if I had stayed at the ashram, I might never have learned these lessons. Who knows? Could I go back to India? Definitely. Could I go back to an ashram? Why not? It's interesting to revisit places from the past to see how my perspective has changed. We are in constant flux, and what we didn't like before may be the right thing for us in the future. When I landed in Mexico City, my partner picked me up from the airport. I was so happy to be home. He didn't notice. I had already made a decision. A new version of myself was about to reveal. Returning to the lab, I just slowly realized this meditation group no longer fulfilled me. I don't know if it was my excess of ego or perhaps it was time to evolve. I felt my relationship with Betty was becoming codependent, and to truly grow and find my own way, I needed to leave. I began missing sessions and Betty noticed it. We met for lunch to talk about it. Ending relationships is never easy. People often feel abandoned or rejected. It's a deeply personal feeling that can activate old wounds. They don't always understand that your decision isn't a rejection of them, but rather a choice to find a different path for your own growth. I have been on the receiving end of that feeling, so I know how hard it can be. Betty was initially hurt by my decision, but she eventually understood. We have remained friends, and I'm grateful that we were able to end that chapter with respect and honesty. in my next episode. What new changes will come to my life? What new characters will I meet? How will life unfold for me? Find out next Tuesday. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support the work I'm doing, please consider checking out my Patreon. You can find the link in the show notes. Your gratitude and support help me create more content you love. You can also follow me at Instagram at Gina Baruch Art. See you next week, and remember, you were born to shine.